Yeah? Hey guys, it's David coming at you from Organic Price Books with another David's first look at a title that we got somewhat recently, but we wanted to just kind of do an overview because it was a pretty interesting story. We're going to be looking today at X-Men, God Loves, Man Kills. So this is kind of like a one-off story, but it is really cool. Before we get started, as always, if you want to be eligible to win a $25 gift card, all you have to do is leave a comment down below and subscribe to the channel, and then the winner will be announced at the end of the description, or will be written in the description of the video. We also have, of course, our Whatnot sale on the third week of March. We have a lot of really cool titles, guys. We have, it's been such a fun ride for the Whatnot that we are adding more and more. So we have like the Fantastic Four, Avengers vs. X-Men lot, this Daredevil. We have like several different Daredevils lot, the Frank Miller, and then the Mark Waid. We actually have some manga, for those manga enthusiasts. You got Gundam over here. Yeah, that Bleach set that looks really cool. If you read Bleach, let me know. I liked it. We'll talk about that later. We have Green Lantern over here. We have two of the Batman and Robin, so that's exciting. So we have a lot of really great out-of-print titles that are going to be up for auction on the Whatnot. And then we also have our mystery boxes, guys, if you didn't hear about it or if you want to know a little bit more. So we basically have 100 mystery boxes that have either some singles, like 5 singles, a trade paperback, or a complete collection, but it's all like not any hardcovers, not yet. Not yet. Anyway, in one of those, there's going to be golden tickets. So the first golden ticket was for this Justice League Avengers slipcase that we were going to basically put in one of them. Nobody won it. We opened up all of the ones that were won on the Whatnot, and nobody won it. So what happens is, rolls over to this next Whatnot in the third week of March, and then we're going to add other great titles like Batman Eternal. We have it over here, Batman Eternal, DC 1 Million, and then we're also going to do another one of the Batman and Robins in that. So now your chances of getting a really, really cool out-of-print title is going to go up. So that's exciting news for you guys, All right, so let's go back over here. Okay, so this story was really interesting. If anybody, if you have read it, you know that it is it's if you look at it, it's just a thin story. And when I saw this, I told JP I wanted to read it because I'm like, why would they print this story by itself? Like, this looks like, you could do a trade paperback. Why would you print this? And I see now, after reading it, I can tell you why they did it. Because this is a very politically charged, and not only politically charged, but like racially charged story. And it kind of is what the mutants are. So let's open it up real quick. Did you want to? I showed you this man already. Yeah.
What about the back?
Oh, did I show you the back? I'll show you the back anytime you want. Hey, what up? All right. So, as you know, the whole story of the X-Men is kind of like it's all about being different, being born different, and persecution that they get. So that's always kind of been the story of how the X-Men are. This one takes that and amps it up to 11. So I'll tell you the whole story and all that. This was written back in if I'm not mistaken, like the 70s. And I read this forward by John Jennings, and it kind of tells you the story and why they decided to release it, and why even now, because it was recently, it even talks about wearing masks and stuff like that, and the pandemic. So it was released very recently, and it talks about why they decided to do that and to do it as a single, because even at times now, like where we're at at this times, it's still there is still racial discrimination, and we're in a sense more exposed to it because of social media and the internet and such. So that's why they decided to do it as a story. And I was like, I guess I don't like too much for politics to jump into my sci-fi, because if I'm going to live the real world, I can just look at the news. But this was a really cool story. Okay, first off, let me just say this. From the beginning, I do not like the artwork just because I don't like this style. But that's just a personal preference, guys. Just a personal preference. But As you can see, the artwork is, older. And it's basically Kitty Pryde talking to this girl here. And she's talking to her about Magneto. And it is just an introduction to the actual story, which is this one right here. So this was written afterwards, and it pertains to this story. So it's kind of talking about how, mutants have been persecuted. And then you see here, this was I think the most impactful part of the whole story, is these two kids. They're running away basically, and the kid is 11, she's 9. Their brother and sister. She gets shot, and these people are there, and basically, look, he's a mutant, so that's why they're obviously hunting him. They shoot the brother, and she's like, why? And then this was really impactful. She says, because you have no right to live. And then they shoot her, and then they basically string them up on the swings, like they basically hang them, and they put a thing on there that says mutie. So it's obviously a very big reflection of the racial discrimination that African Americans were exposed to, where people would kill them and lynch them like that, and then just because they didn't think they were human. So that's very, very mirrors that very closely. Magneto finds their body, takes them, and then he's like, now you're going to pay for that, because these are purifiers, which are part of the Stryker crusade run by William Stryker. And if you know William Stryker in the comics, he's like this general that wanted to kill all the X-Men. So it's kind of the same thing, but in this one, he's like a preacher. So he's like, he runs a ministries about that, and he knows about the X-Men, and he wants to kill them. And then here are the X-Men. So like I said, this is, me and JP were talking about it. It's like, this is this old school drawing style, which in its own right is cool. It's just kind of like, I don't want to read it. Anyway, so then, and then it actually talks about a forward, because on here, there's a part where they actually say the N-word, but they closed it, or they censored it, or, blacked it out, just because we live in a different time. But when it was released, it did have that there. So right there, as you see that. So she was, Kitty Pryde is basically telling her, why are you mad at this guy calling you a mutie, or calling, mutants mutie? And then it's like, it's the same way, mutie to mutants is how you would, the N-word be to black people. So that's how she's basically telling her, how would you feel if somebody said that to you like that? Just, nonchalant. And the lady's like, I understand. So then, she goes back. The Stryker Crusade people are looking at them. Oh, they're called the Purifiers. Yeah, pacifiers. One of those two. Purifiers, pacifiers. Anyway, so like I said, Stryker's like a televangelist. He goes on TV, and here he's like debating Charles Xavier. And he's making him look like a chump, because he's more, he knows how to talk to the audience. And the X-Men are like, oh, that sucked. Let's go train in the war room. What's their room called, JP? Where the X-Men train? The Danger Room. The Danger Room, yeah. Okay. Anyway, so they kind of just show how they work together, and they kind of talk about everything that they're feeling, as it's going. And then after the interview, Professor X is driving home with Cyclops and Storm, and then boom, they shoot their car, and then it looks like they kill. Obviously, they kill Scott, and then they shot down Aurora and Charles, and then the car blows up. So then they get a call that, oh no, they died. So they're all sad. Oh no, they killed the teacher. Oh no, my friends. And then Kitty Pryde is here talking to Iliada, which is Colossus's younger sister. And they spot something, oh no, somebody's spying on us. So they kind of wait to see who it is. And then, the rest of the X-Men go to check out the car crash to see what's going on. And then they find people looking at them, so they attack them. These people are like, we're not going to tell you anything. But then freaking Magneto shows up, and he's like, I'm going to help you guys out, because we need to work together. So he like takes apart their uniforms, which are like these uniforms made to like stop mutants. And he takes them apart and basically captures them so that they can get more information. On the other side over here, Kitty Pryde and Iliada, they see who the people who come to fix the machine, and they basically get captured. And then this is a really cool part. I like this a lot about Wolverine. So like they have these guys captured and they're like, we're not gonna tell you anything. So Wolverine's like, are you sure? And he's like, let me show you. That's one. There's two. Want to go for three? So it's like right at his face. And the guy's all scared, but he's like, no, I'm not gonna tell you nothing. I don't care. And then of course, I guess Magneto shows up and he. And this thing in Magneto is kind of different because I know he's magnetism, but why would, like, what is he doing to him? Like, it looks like he's, I don't know, doing some stuff to him. But, like, what's the extent of Magneto's power to an actual person? Like, I know in one story he, like, uses the iron in their blood to, like, kill people. So, I don't know. Anyway, this is a hallucination that Charles Xavier is having, that the X-Men are, like, demons to try. So, basically, he's not dead. They just captured him to try to turn him and use his psychic powers to try to kill the other mutant, all the other mutants using his like a cerebral machine, and they're trying to get him to turn on the X-Men, but he won't do it because he's, these are my kids. So basically, Stryker doesn't believe that mutants have any rights as humans. They are basically an abomination, and they should all be killed, regardless if they're kids, of their race or anything. They should all die. And then it kind of goes to his story of basically he was driving with his wife who was pregnant. They crashed. He had to deliver the baby, and then basically the baby was born a mutant. And he kills the baby because he's like, oh, this is a freak of nature. He kills the baby, and when the wife asks what happened to the baby, he kills her too. So he kills his own wife just for asking about the baby. Then he is like, since it was in a car crash, he's like, I'm gonna just kill myself too. But then, like, with the explosion, it kind of knocks him out of the way. So he's like, oh, God saved me. So now I have to, like, kill all the mutants because he saved me for a reason when I should have died. And this is all, of course, in his head. He doesn't tell anybody. And then that's how he starts his ministries to kill all the mutants. So that's where the whole religious aspect comes. Is like he believes that God ordained him to kill all the mutants and to bring in, bring a new, not a new level to the mutants or to the human race, but basically unite them against the mutant because they're not human, so they should all die. And he twists the words of the Bible, that's where it also plays on stuff like politics, like nowadays, like a lot of the things are sometimes racially or religiously driven. And things are taken out of context in the Bible, so it's pretty crazy. And speaking as somebody who is who has faith and all that stuff, and I don't like to talk about it too much, but it's true. You see that a lot of people take things out of context or cherry pick certain Bible verses to suit them, but they don't see the whole picture. But that's to each their own. I don't like to impose on anybody, but basically, Scott's like, why are you trying to do this? We didn't do anything to you. And he's basically like, you existed, and that's an abomination to God, and I'm going to kill you. And then here they capture Kitty Pryde and Ileana. They're going to go kill him, but then she runs away, and she ends up in like this like bad side part of town. So you see these guys that are like all ghetto and such, and she's running away from them, and then they attack the other girl who was trying to hunt her. And so this kind of aspect is also like how just she was like about to get like raped and such, so she calls to get help, and then she gets blown up, but she survives. And then she gets on the train, and this cop is helping her, and then like the mutants or the pacifiers are like, if you help her, you're even worse than a mutant because you're somebody who sympathizes with her. So even if they're human, they'll still kill them because they helped a mutant, which kind of just goes to show that, some people are very like that. If you even think of them as your friend, you're part of the problem. Like, that doesn't help anybody. Anyway, so Magneto shows up and he saves her, and they take some of them prisoners to get more information. And then Magneto saves the human. And how Magneto is, he doesn't like humans either. So it's kind of like the same coin, because Magneto's like, why am I going to save this human? He's already shot. And then the X-Men are like, no, this is what we do. If you're helping us, then you have to save him. So they save him and they take him to the hospital. And then here's Charles again. They're trying to make him basically turn against the X-Men. And it shows that like he does, and he uses his mind powers to kill Scott and Storm. And so Stryker's like, yes, we finally got a solution to this. And then one of his friends or whatever gets kidnapped by the X-Men to try to get information on what he's trying to do. And then here is like the bodies of Storm and Scott. They're going to go throw them away. And while they're doing that, of course, Magneto goes and takes the bodies. And when they're there, what's his face? Wolverine, because obviously because of his nose, he's like, he sniffs them. No, they're alive. Shock them. So I don't know what Magneto does. I don't know how he shocks them. I don't know. That's weird to me. Like, how would he do that? Anyway, they're like, oh, he's planning to do this big like conference kind of thing in Madison Square Garden, and basically use Xavier's powers there with a big cerebral machine to kind of kill all the mutants there at that time. And that's his plan. That's what they want to do. So then the X-Men have to stop him. And if you notice it, this is at Madison Square Garden, and this is actually taken from the image. It says it on there. This image is like, so there was whenever the World War II was going on, there was a rally at Madison Square Garden by the Nazis, or American Nazis, basically, kind of supporting Hitler before the U.S. got into it, into the war. And it's kind of set up the same way. It looks exactly like this, so that they actually, in the afterwards and all that, it mentions that this is taken straight from the actual picture. They just drew it like that, and it actually looks like that. It's crazy. So it's kind of mirroring that as well, how the Nazis were like, kind of blind to the extermination of one giant, of the Jews at the time, of Jewish people. So it also plays into that. So the book is kind of dips into the racial, the religious, the Holocaust, all that stuff. So, and then the cops here, like, they're kind of, obviously they have to work security, but they don't believe in the same thing. They're like, no, this guy's crazy. Even the guests that are like some of the like governors and senators are like, we're here just to hear him out, but he's kind of crazy. So then the X-Men go, and while he's there, Magneto comes in and basically tells him, we're going to stop you. Now, he's not killing anybody. He just lifts off the roof and brings it down. And even like, because you would think like from the movies that we watched, like they would start like attack him. But here the senator's like, oh, he didn't do anything. He hasn't done anything. He just came in. He put the roof exactly as it was. So, they're kind of like defending him. So he activates the machine around here. And then that's where you see all these people, like even the X-Men are like, oh, my head hurts. Like because Xavier's using his powers to like affect all the mutants. Here's where he like falls down. Like he gets hit with one of the psychic shocks from Xavier. And see, this is weird. He's like using his powers to do something, but I don't know what it is. So I'm like, I don't know what his extent of powers are here. And so the police are like telling the people, hey, back off. Don't hurt Magneto. He hasn't done anything. So it's cool because it's kind of like you have humans who are defending him, not because they believe in him, just because he's a human and he hasn't done anything. He's just there to make his case. The mutants come in here and they basically are freeing Professor X. And then one of his close people from the Stryker, her head starts hurting, so I guess she was part mutant. And then he's like, well, you're gonna die. And he's like, but you know me, you raised me and all that. And he's like, I don't care. You're a mutant. You're gonna die. So he pushes her off of the stage, and like it shows like where the TV's recording, where she hits her neck and dies. And then to him, he's like, she deserved to die because she was a mutant. Like even if it's somebody that he knew, yeah.
So what is this then? I thought there was like some type of power.
No, but it's just kind of like how the television's like framing her as it goes down, and she falls and breaks her neck.
Damn.
Yeah. And then
Savage.
He's like, so this is what you would, like Magneto's talking to him, he's like, this is what you would do. If they even exist as a mutant, and even if you know them, they die. And he's like, yeah, I don't care. And then finally they basically free Xavier, and they destroy the machine. And then you would think that the X-Men are going to go out there and fight him. But you know what? They decide to change the script, and they go out there and they're like, hey, we stopped you from basically torturing Xavier. and we're going to present our case. We're going to actually talk to you. We're actually going to debate you. And basically, Scott is there telling him, we have the same rights as you and all this stuff. And this guy's like, you're not even human. Look at him, and he points to a Nightcrawler who has like he looks like a demon. And then Kitty Pryde is like, he's more human than you are because he is compassionate, he's sympathetic. Even with his how he looks, he's still a kind person compared to you. And then so Stryker like takes out a gun, and he's gonna basically shoot the X-Men, and they're just kind of just standing there. So they did it so that people would see what kind of person he is compared to them. Yes, they have powers. They could easily kill Stryker. He's an old man, but they're not doing it because just like people who have talents that you don't have, like athletes or musicians, that something that people are born with. Sometimes people are born with intelligence and stuff like that. That doesn't make them different from who you are. He basically says, Scott is like, yeah, we're different evolution of humans, but we're still from the same tree. We're still humans, at the base of it. And so he's going to shoot him, and then bam, Stryker gets shot by a police officer because obviously he had a gun, and they're just following the law. And basically they kind of leave they get to leave because they didn't do anything. They were just protecting their people, but to the actual humans they didn't do anything. And here Magneto's like, or Professor X like, you guys should just go with Magneto because he was right. Humans are going to just try to kill us. And they're like, no, we have to try to change their minds peacefully or by being different. And Magneto's like, oh, you guys are dumb, I hate you, blah 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 blah. He leaves. And this is kind of like the closing arguments that if it's not going to be easy to do that, to change their minds, but we have to try. That's how it ends. Goes back to that earlier part with the girl, and basically, I guess from what it was reading in the afterwards, like this whole part is based off of another comic, like another arc that goes on. So it's kind of like related to that, but it's not really connected to it. She just kind of tells her story, and she gives her this hat of Wildcat, who I guess was her mom or something like that. I'm not too sure. Like I said, I'm not too sure about that. And then these guys shows up, which are basically like the new mutant hunters, and they're gonna go look for them, and that's basically the end of it. So this is just kind of like added to it. It's not part of the actual other story. So, it just kind of shows how they're being persecuted. And the afterword just gives you a little bit of the, what they each thought about going back into this story and the different changes that, we face nowadays and how it affected it. And for example, it talks about the X-Men Black with Magneto and how this is actually part of the later comics, which is like set, at a different time from the old ones. So it's pretty interesting. They there's a lot of like stuff where they're just talking about the impact of the comic book, revisiting it after 40 years, and how even now it's still a relevant title because of the different social aspect of it, as well as the racial aspect and the religious aspect that we kind of are going through with our nowadays. And then it shows the different titles. So it's really cool. Like that was the very impactful part of it. It's just how it's a story that's made to make you think. It's not a story that's all action-packed. It has action, but it's a story to make you think of how we are nowadays and how people are discriminated against racially. And if mutants were alive or were around this time, the same thing would happen. Are you kidding me? People would be like, "Oh, they all need to die," and it's true. Like just think about how it is nowadays, where people are just by your political standing, people are like, "Oh, this person needs to die." So if a evolution of humans came out that had powers, man, people would be hunting them down just because they're different. So it's pretty crazy. It has a lot of that impactfulness that we see nowadays. That like this, the whole thing with the mutant, that was really sad to me. I have kids, so every time I see something with kids getting killed, it pulls at my heartstrings. But yeah, so these are some of the titles which I thought were really cool. Some of the covers the galleries, and then a character study like this. And it was basically them just trying to match the old school style of the original comic, so that's really cool. And I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, it just kind of gives you a black and white of it, of the same stuff, so it's actually really cool. And then just that, so that's kind of like a very impactful part, because of the kids, they get killed and they get hung up, and then a mutie is put on their bodies, you know. So yeah, like I said, it's not a very thick book. I read it in maybe like an hour or so, maybe two. But like I said, it drives the nail, or it pokes at the situation that we're going on now, not only in politics but like with discrimination that we see. So you know, it's pretty cool. We have this available. Get it if you want to just kind of get a story that'll make you think. Like, it's definitely a story that it'll leave
An impression.
an impression on you. And like, even now, I was talking with JP. I was like, you know, it's crazy how much even this story that was written 40 years ago is still relevant nowadays. And I think that's why they took it out again, just because, yeah, it still resounds nowadays. So it was a pretty good read. Like I said, I don't like the old school artwork, but I guess that's how it was made whenever it was first taken out. But recommended? Yeah, I would. Out of Davids, I would give it 3 out of 5 Davids, you know. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next one.